Hello everyone, I'm Luke Neller and this is Best Replays of the Week. In this episode, we meet the unstoppable battle bus, a T-43 Defender, and witness the killer bathtub from hell. Let's battle! Let's start the show with some sniper action. Siggy's weapon of choice is the Rheinmetall Borsig Waffenträger. It's a stealthy, long-range weapon with no armor whatsoever, so it's definitely a sniper's machine. The killing ground is Lakeville, and the standard battle takes place on the EU server cluster. Patience is the virtue of hunters and snipers. Siggy picks a spot and settles down to wait. Maybe just a little more forward. Enemy sighted, but a sniper is not in a hurry. There's no point in wasting ammo on a bad shot. A steady aim and perfectly putting down his prayer. Siggy moves forward and looks for the next opportunity. Meanwhile, it seems that the team is doing poorly, with only his kill to the enemy's 7. A rival sniper is making a dash in the open. Siggy punishes such recklessness, and the teammates take care of the rest. And another one. A high-caliber hole is punched into the rival side. A snapshot at the distant IS-6 fails to connect, but the next one finds the hull of a KV-85. The KV is still there, and one more shot puts it out of its misery. A TD is coming to end the sniper's run. Siggy puts in a shot and falls back as the enemy's return shot strikes off the cliffside. Siggy sets up a finishing shot, but the Su-152 falls to its death instead. That works just as well. The home team is in a lot of trouble. The enemies are winning the fight for the base, and they're in the lead by 4 tanks. The Panther goes back to defend, but Siggy is determined to kill the rival Borsig. Maybe some assistance can be given from here. The shot takes out the track of the IS-6. Allies are on the ball, and the sniper doesn't need to put in a second shot. And finally, the Borsig shows itself again. It took a while, but Siggy makes sure to finish the job. It's 2 against 5 now, and the enemy have 3 artillery pieces, one of which is sneaking up on him. This moment of inattention could be fatal, but the enemy rushes the shot and misses by a meter. And another one. The sniper is quick on the trigger, and the second enemy doesn't get a chance to fire. Siggy moves forward just in time to avoid a shot from the T-150, and the Crusader fluffs its second shot. It's an easy kill after that, but the sniper is now all alone. Siggy keeps moving forward and takes a parting shot in the rear. It's 1 against 3, and the enemies are free to cap if they want. There is no finesse in taking out the last artillery piece. Up close and personal gets the job done just as well, though. Apparently they do want to cap. Siggy picks a path and heads back for home base. There are times when a sniper needs to forget the scope and get the shot in as quick as possible. As long as they aim faster than the opponent, it will be okay. Just the capper now, a top-tier heavy. The capture is almost done, so there's just one chance to get it right. The enemy is pre-aimed and gets in an ammo rack hit. It doesn't matter though, a sniper won't miss at this range, and the game is over. Victory! Well played, Siggy. It was a slow start, but the 8-kill cleanup more than made up for it. Congratulations! This week's Top Gun entry is an unusual one. The Sulma bathtub is a good, if strange-looking TD. But it's not some overpowered murder machine. In a Tier 7 game, it's a support vehicle or a speed bump. You'd think so anyway. The game happens on the North American server cluster, and the battle is fought over Fisherman's Bay. Long Invader didn't get the memo about the cautious support role and heads out with the west flank push. The first enemy dies too fast for the slow-aiming gun, but there are more where that came from. First kill. Long is pretty sure the VK is still there and claims the second kill with a blind shot. It's a nice start. An enemy bathtub and a Dicker Max. The Dicker Max hides after a hit, and allies kill the rival. This place is no fun anymore, and Long goes looking for more victims. The KV-1S is driven by a very lucky tanker, but its heavier brother doesn't have such a charmed life. Third kill. The T1 Heavy is risking its life on open ground. Long wrecks and immobilizes the enemy, and an ally claims the kill. A top-tier opponent is charging the position. The allied TOG gets dismantled in moments, but the bathtub's 105mm boomstick puts a big hole in the American TD as well. A lucky dodge there. The last ally lends a helping gun, and a second shot from Long lays the enemy to rest. The archer is utterly focused on the ally. The enemies really should give the bathtub more respect. 5th kill. The Dicker Max is back, and is utterly focused on the IS-2 as well. 6th kill. Goodbye, KV-1. 7th kill. There's just a single enemy left, an IS-2 in a hold-down position and fire away. Long-range gunnery isn't working, so Long drives straight at the enemy. The heavies are locked in a death struggle, with the enemy using high explosives for some reason. The ally is struggling to end the game, but Long is happy to put in the final shell. Victory with 8 kills. Nice! A killer bathtub in a tier 7 match. More long-range ambush shooting than a typical Top Gun, but that was still excellent. The Defender of the Week is Arsenal 11, who drives the T-43 in an encounter battle on Sand River. The battle takes place on the EU cluster with our Defender on top tier. As we've seen so many times on this map, the defensive player heads for the northern hills. Offense is often the best defense, and Arsenal starts by picking off a Wolverine. The fighting gets a little intense for a medium tank, so Arsenal relocates to lower ground. An enemy medium tries to follow, but a shell to its side drives it off. Back on top, and a couple of rounds are slammed into the enemy Jagdpanther. The battle seems to be fairly even now, with some allies trying for an early cap. The Chinese medium tank challenges Arsenal to a duel. It's a long struggle, but victorious in the end. Arsenal has a couple of kills now, but more than half of the hit points are gone. That's a tasty target. The second shot doesn't hit, but an unlucky Tiger becomes the 3rd kill instead. And here's the Jagdpanther. Nice of it to present its side like that. Another mountaintop, and the rival T-43 is a great target. It gets in a hit in return, but that doesn't change the outcome. Game is 3 versus 3 now, and it's the enemy's turn to attempt a capture. Artillery kills the Allied Tiger, and it's time for the Defender to earn the title. The Commander's spider sense is tingling. Because of the Hummel, Arsenal needs to be careful. The Allied SPG has spotted a Kappa, but Arsenal was not in position. Luckily, the RT survives the first hit, buying a little more time. No line of fire. Demolishing the buildings helps, and a second shot resets the cap. Apparently, it's just the single heavy in the circle. Arsenal has time and decides to take the long way around the map. It looks like one of the enemy tanks have been abandoned here. Staying to demolish the VK is risky because of the enemy artillery. The RT doesn't fire and instead spends the time for a careful aim. Arsenal still wins the duel. 1-on-1 now, with both tanks one-shottable. Since this is an encounter game, there's time to set up the attack. Oops, spotted there, but maybe it can work as a feint. Arsenal turns back and the enemy has indeed been deceived. Spotted again, and the enemy turns their gun around. Hopefully it messes up their aim. Both players fire through the fragile walls and they both miss. Arsenal has the advantage of the faster loading time, and the second shot ends the game in a victory. Well played, Defender. You never lost your nerve and did what needed to be done at each stage. And now the Confederate of the Week. Mr. Unseen drives the T-55A on Stalingrad and reminds us that carrying the game doesn't require chasing kills. The game is played on the EU cluster. Mr. Unseen takes the lead and heads north at best speed. Meeting the enemy results in a couple of hits, but no permanent damage is taken. With the lower plate covered, this tank can do the job of a heavy. Mr. Unseen holds the position against multiple enemies, dealing damage and taking none himself. But in the end, it's a med, not a heavy. Maybe a flanking maneuver would be even more effective. The IS-8 is hard to pen from this angle. Let's see if a heat round will do the trick. It sure did. Unseen stays to trade a pair of shells with the heavy, but then decides to move on. The next heat round is reserved for the object. Boom! The next shot bounces off a KV-4, which replies with a devastating hit to the fuel tank. Ouch! This one punches through, but the IS-8 is back. Maybe those friendly heavies could take a few hits for a change. But there's no time to complain. The IS needs to be taken care of. The enemy fires, and Unseen goes on the attack. He keeps the heavy tracked and dismantles it with calm efficiency. The T-34 is next. Firing through the wall is a nice touch. The enemy doesn't get a chance to fight back. And now the IS-6. It looks like a simple execution at first, but the enemy gets a hit in and ignites the damaged fuel tank. Good thing Unseen had that automatic extinguisher. A perfect tracking shot, but the Carnarvon doesn't manage to make use of the opportunity. Maybe another go at the T-95. Turns out it's facing the other way. Unseen could kill it easily if he didn't have to turn around and deal with an IS-3. The IS could have been a challenge one-on-one, but teammates show up and the fight is over. Back to the T-95. Once again, a tracking shot renders it helpless. 2 more shells into its rear, and the monstrous TD is no more. It looks like the game is essentially over now. 3 allies remain, and the last enemy is an AMX 1390. Rather than hunt for the speedy light tank, 3 team members pile into the cap circle. The A-44 tries his luck alone and loses the duel. It doesn't matter, victory by capture. A very nice game, Confederate. Only 2 kills, but you clearly carried that game. Just look at those numbers. Most people don't think much of the T1 Heavy, but when it's on top of the list, it can be a tough nut to crack. Kill Me With a Smile takes the battle bus to Winterberg and shows why it deserves to be called heavy. It doesn't look easy though. The lists are full of tier 5s, and many of those can easily punch through the armor. The city map also rules out hold down tactics. Let's see how it goes. The smiling killer rolls into town and waits. When enemies are spotted, the battle bus doesn't hesitate to meet them head on. The first shot pings off the armor and the T1 turns away. The enemies are breaking through elsewhere and the bus is needed to stem the tide. Enemies are flooding in, and Kill Me With a Smile gets to work. APCR rounds take down 2 enemy heavy tanks and then a Panzer 3/4. The heavy takes down the last 2 attackers, having suffered only a single serious hit. That's 5 kills for the battle bus, but the score is 5-10. The TD hangs on with a single hit point, until the 3rd shell finds its mark. The KV-1S is dangerous, but luckily it's looking the wrong way. When it manages to return fire, the shell is absorbed by a perfectly angled trap. The bus remains practically undamaged, but only 2 allies remain. Look at that list of enemies! The next challenger appears and lasts about 5 seconds. The KV-1 goes down just as fast thanks to an engine fire, and the Stug follows moments later. An ambush shot accidentally ricochets off the T1's rear plate. This bus really is indestructible. The KV manages to resist several shots and becomes the only kill claimed by an ally. Well done, T-34. The enemies are spotted and the last friendly dies immediately. Kill Me With a Smile is probably smiling as he demolishes the 4 remaining enemies. As before, nothing can penetrate the battle bus. Victory with 14 kills. Wow, that was an incredible game all round, and it was picked for Steel Wall of the Week because the Heavy seemed utterly indestructible. Great game. Listen, before you moan or make a comment, these replays were taken from a week of submissions. Just not last week, or maybe last month, but it is a week. I'm Lidnella, see you next episode. If you're still listening, write a comment that's just banana, and don't tell anyone why, just for fun.